Okay, so I am several days behind and I do apologize. It's been a bit of a crazy week with work and everything else going on. We're getting ready to go away this weekend, so lots of trying to get the house organized for that and just kind of getting over being sick. I don't even know what it was that I had. I was just exhausted. But yeah, so today is VEDA day 4, 5, 6, and 7. So let's make sure I can get this all right. So VEDA day 4 was reading some of your reading preferences, I think it said. So my reading preferences vary. I love science fiction. I have been reading science fiction for as long as I could read. It's my favorite genre. As you can see, I mean, I have the Star Wars seats. I have R2-D2 in the rear view mirror. Our car is actually named R2-D2, and hopefully soon we will be having a cool Star Wars license plate. But I also like historical fiction. Growing up, I had a huge obsession with British history, specifically the Tudors area. Loved Anne Boleyn, as well as more medieval type stuff. Like, there's a book that I have, can't even remember what it's called now, but it's about Joan of Arc and Doven's Sword, or of Doven's Sword, I can't remember. Anyways, it was one of my favorite books growing up. I've read that thing to death, to the point that the cover has fallen off, the pages are all crinkled, and yeah, it's in pretty rough shape because of how many times I read it, probably about 15 to 20 times a year growing up. And dystopian novels. The Giver is one of my all-time favorite books. Again, another one that is falling apart because of how many times I've read it. What else? 1984 is another favorite of mine. I've just always loved that whole concept of dystopian novels and people being able to overcome the dystopias. So that's my reading preferences. The next day was, are you a thrill seeker? I am definitely not a thrill seeker. It's not that I'm, hugely terrified of too many things. It's just most thrill things that I see either involve water, which I am afraid of deep water and boats, and being high up in the air. And I am actually petrified of heights, to the point where if I have to sit in the nosebleed section at a stadium, I'm white as a ghost by the time I get to my seat. I sit down in my seat and I can't move. I'm shaking the entire time and my skin never comes back to my normal pink color. What else? The next day was, what is your earliest memory, I believe. Oh, I guess I forgot to answer the part. If you could do anything with no risks involved, it would probably be skydiving. I realize that negates the whole being afraid of heights thing, but part of the afraid of the heights is what happens when you hit the ground. So if there was no risk at hitting the ground and harming myself, I would love to skydive, because I do love aerial views and I think it's really cool, and I would love to feel what it would be like to just come plummeting from the sky. So on to earliest childhood memory. My earliest memories, it's kind of a jumble of them, but, they trace back to just before my mom got sick, and around the time that she died. Little tiny things that aren't even that, big. But, I remember her babysitting me and some of the neighbors' kids one day, picking up my dad from work at the factory, and there being a bat in the factory with the alarm going off. And then from there, it's basically really things from when she got sick. I still remember the night that she was taken away to the hospital. I remember it because I was standing by we used to have a timer for our Christmas lights. And I was standing right beside the timer, watching as the ambulance drove away. And I just remember being so confused and not understanding what was going on, what was wrong with mom, or any of that stuff. The rest would basically be little things like when she got back. I remember her taking a drink of milk and seeing blood in the milk. She chose to stay at our house and have a nurse come and take care of her there rather than spending her last days in the hospital. So I remember going down and sitting on her her hospital bed, not supposed to be down there. I remember that a couple times. That would be about it. They're all kind of a jumble. I don't really know the time frame of which ones are actually first, save for the ones before my mom was sick. But yeah, that would be my earliest memories. And the last one was Superhero Day. If you could be a superhero. So this one I've thought about time and time again. If I could be a superhero, my superhero name would be Charge, and I would have the power of electricity. Not just electricity, the ability to manipulate the electrons, which would also mean I think I'd be able to do magnetism stuff too, which is what I never understood about Magneto, because if Magneto can manipulate the electrons and the neutrons for magnetic pull, why can't he do electricity? Anyways, yeah, so that would be my superhero power, and I would totally be one of the X-Men. I mean, why not? The X-Men are the coolest superheroes. They've been my favorite since I was a kid. I used to collect their comics, watch the TV show, obsessed with Rogue. She's my absolute favorite. So yeah, that would be that. Thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll get caught up on all your videos soon. Thanks, everyone.